The Camp David Accords are often hailed as the hallmark of Jimmy Carter's presidency. His advancements in cultivating the peace in the Middle East led the way for greater efforts towards international cooperation for years to come. A state of war had existed between Egypt and the State of Israel since the establishment of Israel in 1948. In the first three Arab-Israeli wars, Israel decisively defeated Egypt. When Sadat became the president of Egypt in 1970, he found himself leader of an economically troubled nation that couldn't afford to continue its endless crusade against Israel. He wanted to make peace and achieve stability. However, on October 6, 1973, Egyptian and Syrian forces launched a joint attack against Israel. It was Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year for Jews, and Israeli forces were taken entirely by surprise. Although Egypt had again suffered great military defeat against its Jewish neighbor, the initial Egyptian successes greatly enhanced Sadat's prestige in the Middle East and provided him with an opportunity to seek peace. In September 1978, President Jimmy Carter invited Sadat and Israeli Prime Minister Begin to the presidential retreat at Camp David, Maryland, where dual peace accords were created under the direction of Carter. The historic agreements provided for complete Israeli evacuation from the Sinai, laid the groundwork for the signing of a final peace agreement, and outlined two broader framework documents for achieving peace in the Middle East. Accompanied by their capable negotiating teams and their respective interests in mind, both leaders converged on Camp David for 13 days of tense and dramatic negotiations. By all accounts, Carter's relentless drive to achieve peace and his reluctance to allow the two men to leave without reaching an agreement are what played the decisive role in the success of the talks. Later, Jimmy Carter was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002 for his efforts.
We are privileged to witness tonight a significant achievement in the cause of peace. An achievement none thought possible a year ago, or even a month ago. An achievement that reflects the courage and wisdom of these two leaders.
On March 29, 1979, a permanent peace agreement was signed that closely resembled the Camp David Accords. This significant treaty ended the 31-year state of war between the two countries and provided for the establishment of full diplomatic and commercial relations.
The Camp David Accords were hailed as a monumental triumph of diplomacy. With his brilliant success and inspired leadership, Carter has taken a first big step toward realizing the promise of his presidency, was the verdict of the press.
The Camp David Accords had lasting effects other than creating peace. It's been theorized that each country participated in the Camp David Accords simply for their own gain and not to foster peaceful relations. Most other Arab nations and many Egyptians denounced the treaty, and Egypt was expelled from the Arab League, creating major economic losses for their country and having a major impact on their economy for years to come. Social tensions rapidly increased within Egypt, and President Sadat's signing of the Camp David Accords led to his assassination in 1981 by dissatisfied Islamic extremists from his own country. On the other hand, many Israelis still believe that their economy was suppressed due to the secession of the Sinai Peninsula and the loss of valuable oil, tourism, and land sources. U.S. foreign policy was forever changed after Carter's talks. From then on, the United States began to participate in more international peace talks, specifically with the Middle East. In July 2000, President Clinton returned to Camp David, Maryland, in order to meet with the Israeli Prime Minister Barak and Palestinian leader Arafat. The Camp David Summit was an effort to resolve issues between Israel and Palestine, especially over Jerusalem and the future of Jewish settlers and Palestinian refugees. Despite the failure of this summit, the principle demonstrates the continuing precedent of the United States' assistance in helping relations between Middle Eastern countries. This event had a clear effect on U.S. foreign policy and Middle Eastern relations in future years. It was a notable achievement for Jimmy Carter. The success of Begin, Sadat, and Carter at Camp David demonstrated to other Arab states that negotiations with Israel were possible, and that progress results only from sustained efforts at communication and cooperation.